Hi, I'm Frank Schmitt. I'm the shuttle driver for the Avon Grove Charter School, and I'm want to tell you about my experiences on 9/11. Uh, I have to start by saying that day, Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, had to be one of the clearest, cloudless days that year. I even mentioned it to my buddy who we take the ferry from Hoboken to New York, saying how clear it was. And I was working for a couple who trade the stock market, as well as myself. It was their wedding anniversary. So I went through the rear of the World Trade Center, and uh, as I was entering the revolving door to exit, a buddy of mine from Rutherford, New Jersey, was entering the Trade Center at the same time. We nodded to one another and then continued on our way to work. The reason for going through the World Trade Center was to buy Krispy Kreme donuts for the couple because it was their wedding anniversary. I saw him, the fellow from the turnstile, about a week after 9/11 in a supermarket, and we just nodded to each other and realized it was 9/11, the day that we had passed each other. And we spoke for a few minutes about our experiences. That fellow carried a woman down 6 flights of stairs, saving her life because he was in the building that got hit. Once I got to work, we were making telephone calls with brokers and traders. And one of the last calls we made, remember getting, was from a trader who worked at Cantor Fitzgerald. Cantor Fitzgerald is important because 5 minutes after speaking to him, the first airliner crashed into the North Tower of the Trade Center. That brokerage firm occupied floors 101 to 105, and 658 employees of their firm were killed in the attack, along with the fellow we just spoke to. When the first plane hit at 8:46 a.m., it shook our building. I looked out the window, and our building faced the World Trade Center, and the skies were darkened, and there was like paper floating down from the building, almost like a ticker tape parade. So I went down to the streets, and the streets were packed with people who were looking at the Trade Center, and decided to go back up to the office as the stock market was about to open at 9:30. When I arrived back at the office, the couple I worked for had left because they lived right on the Hudson River, and so they wanted to get out of there. And we always had CNBC, the business and stock market channel, on the TV. And one of their reporters was outside the Trinity Churchyard saying another plane was going to hit the other tower. I looked out the window, and what I saw was the fireball that was the result of the plane hitting the building. That's the picture you see all the time. And I was like, I knew that the country was in serious trouble and we were under attack. People were calling me on the phone, and I'm just like, I hung up on everyone. I said, I'm getting out of here. So as I left the building, I headed south on Broadway and was amazed at the scene unfolding in the streets. It was almost like a Hollywood movie set. Fire, police, and emergency vehicles could be heard. People were in shock, trying to distance themselves from the World Trade Center. A disturbing scene I witnessed was a person running with his camera to take pictures of people who were falling out of the tower. As I made my way to the walkway along the Hudson River, I now was behind the World Trade Center and saw for the first time the destruction and fire that the towers had endured. I thought that the towers were going to topple over, towards the river where I was walking, but I reached the ferry boat that took me off the island of Manhattan to Hoboken and the commuter train that would take me home. Every possible ferry was put into service that day, getting people off the island. A smart decision by the head of the PATH transit system was to halt service immediately to the World Trade Center. A decision saved many lives. After I reached Hoboken, the first tower collapsed, and the cloud of smoke was massive. Little did I know that the towers were constructed to implode rather than topple, as I had feared. The second tower collapsed shortly after the first one. As I boarded to take the train home, the passengers were having trouble getting any kind of cell signal on their phones, and then word was spread around the train that the Pentagon was hit. Rumors were also going around that the UN was bombed. What was going on? When I got to my train station, I went to my daughter's grammar school and took my daughter out of school. And every flight that was in the air was forced to land at the nearest airport. And for the next several days, it was not unusual to see jet fighters flying over the metropolitan area. The days following the attacks, people responded with donations of water, money, and other supplies for the workers who were cleaning up the site. There were no red states or blue states, Democrats or Republicans. We were all Americans after 9/11. While driving, you could not go under an overpass along highways without seeing American flags hanging from the fences of the overpass. Many cars were flying American flags out of their windows. It was proud to be an American. Stories came out that thousands of private and commercial boats arrived in downtown Manhattan to ferry people off the island, like hundreds and hundreds of boats. The stock market was closed for 4 days and reopened on Monday, September 17th. Going back to work was difficult. The smell in the air was horrible. There were armed troops throughout the downtown area. All the offices in the downtown area had to be cleaned and disinfected due to the enormous cloud of dust that was created when both towers collapsed. Our building was one of the buildings affected. Remnants of dust still showed in our office, even on those Krispy Kreme donuts that were never eaten. Volunteers from numerous fire companies, along with construction equipment operators, assisted in the massive cleanup. Crews worked around the clock cleaning up the destruction. It would take months to sort out the debris. Days after the attack, shrines were evident throughout the downtown area, especially the church courtyards near the World Trade Center. Pictures of loved ones, flowers, candles, signs, cards, and letters for the many people who were lost and unaccounted for. I believe some of those shrines remain to this day. Almost 3,000 people lost their lives that day, including 343 fire department in New York, 71 policemen, and 1,400 rescue workers from cleaning up the site. There are many 9/11 memorials around the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. But many people don't know of the teardrop memorial that Russia sent that resides in Bayonne, New Jersey. The memorial is 10 stories high. I know you students were not born in 2001, and me describing the destruction that day is akin to my grandparents and parents telling my generation about the attack on Pearl Harbor. The difference there is that Japan bombed naval ships, airfields, and aircraft, in essence, military targets, not civilians. Pennsylvania played a part in the World Trade Center, as Luke and Steele in Coatesville provided the steel that made up the first 9 floors of both trade centers. And then the bravery of the passengers of Flight 93, who stormed the cockpit and forced the airliner to crash in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, prevented before it was able to cause any more destruction by crashing into another government building. There were many, many unsung heroes that day, people helping one another to escape the downtown area or escape the Twin Towers. I knew a few people who perished on that day, people I took the train with every day. And there were memorial services in almost every town in the Northeast, especially who lost residents in the attack. Everyone remembers where they were on 9/11. I hope this country can unite again. I don't want another attack to be the cause to bring everyone together again like they did on 9/11.